Hey guys, how's it going? It's Alex with Green Tree Media. Today I want to show you the Divi Date Time Picker plugin version 2.0. I've put in a ton of improvements over version 1.0. Thank you to everybody who's provided feedback for version 1.0. I've kind of taken all of that into consideration and tried to make the most robust but also flexible date time picker plugin available to meet as many of your needs as possible. And I'll kind of just show you how that works in here in just a second. So what I want to do first here is just kind of show you a quick demo of it. This is just obviously a pre-made layout from Divi that comes with Divi. And the reason that I chose it is because it has a couple date and time options here. And here's what it normally looks like. It's just inputs. Because Divi natively doesn't support date and time pickers. So someone could come here for the drop-off date and write, definitely not a date. And the form would accept it because it's just looking at it. It's just a text input essentially. What we're going to be creating is this here. What the plugin creates is this. A beautiful date time picker. You'll notice Saturdays and Sundays are grayed out because maybe this business is closed on the weekends. I also can't choose dates before today, and I can't go back in time. I can go forward though, and I can select a time or a date rather, and you'll see it's got the date here. You can even customize how this date is formatted. This is just the default format, and for time as well. I've got a time here, but you'll notice it won't let me select anything before 8 a.m. or 5:30 p.m. And again, this time, the minimums and maximums are completely customizable by you. If you'd rather show this in 24-hour format without the AM PM, that's also an option. So there's a lot of cool stuff that we can do with this plugin. So let's go ahead and get into it. I'm going to jump over to another page here where I kind of have the visual builder already set up. And I'm going to edit this module. And again, this is just the standard contact form that comes with Divi and Extra. This isn't a custom module or anything. So this, if we scroll down here, this is the pickup date. That's this field right here. And if I edit it, you'll see that under field options, it's just an input. And when it's set to input now, with the plugin activated, you have this other toggle, enable date or time picker. If I were to change this to say an email field, you'll see that that goes away. So it's only for the input field. We can enable it, enable the date or the time picker. Once that's enabled, we have a whole host of options here. So the first one being, do we want a date picker or a time picker? Completely up to you, based on what your needs are for that field. Here's where you can change the date format. By default, you saw it over here. But again, you can change that with the tokens, which should look pretty familiar to you. These are used pretty extensively throughout WordPress themes and plugins. And here's where you can enable the date or the time limits. So on our demo over here, you notice that we can't go backwards past today, which is January 2nd, 2019. But we can go forward as far as we want. And that's because there's no maximum limit set. But if I enable this, here's where options are. Enable minimum and enable maximum. So I'll go ahead and enable minimum. And here's where things get pretty interesting with this plugin. So there's two types of minimum limits. There's a hard date and a rolling date. And a hard date means I put in an actual date that I do not want it to go before. So let me do 2018 12/25. We'll do Christmas Day. And what that will do is it will not let me go before that date. This will be the last date people can select. If I change it to rolling date, it's kind of it rolls with whatever the current day is people are loading the calendar. So 0 represents today. If I leave this as 0, then people just won't be able to select a date before today, whatever day that is. So tomorrow, 0 will be tomorrow, if that makes sense. I can set it to positive integers and negative integers. So negative integers mean that many dates before today, and positive means that many dates after today. And you can kind of see that. That's kind of explained here in the description. But if I were to set the minimum date to a +2, that's going to say whatever date people load the calendar on, they will not be able to select a date before 2 days after today. And so let's say you run a business, like you're a massage therapist maybe, and you're running the business by yourself, and maybe you're always running out 2 days, you're always booked 2 days in advance. People will not be able to select a date before 2 days after whenever they load the page with the calendar. So if today is Wednesday, right now if people load this website and I have it set to this, they won't be able to select a time before Friday. So it's kind of a way to always give yourself kind of a rolling period. And again, you can put negative or positive integers in here, whatever makes sense for your business. And the same goes for maximum. And you know what? We'll set this up and I'll show you exactly what I mean. So I'm going to set this to a rolling 2-day, positive 2 to give myself a 2-day buffer. For the maximum, I'm going to do a hard date. And I'm going to say, you know what? I really don't want people scheduling much past June of this year. So I'll do 2009, 06, 01. 2019, I mean. So right now, the minimum date is 2 days after today, but the maximum date they'll be able to select is June 1st. And then I'll show you what all this does here in a second. And then our type, we can either do a single date or a range of dates. And I'll set it to single date, but we can come back to that in a minute. And then we can disable specific dates. So maybe I know that I'm going to be on vacation, April 1st. So I want to disable that, and we'll say April 2nd too. And what you want to do is just put in a comma delineated list of dates, and you want to put it in the year, month, date format like this, and just separate it with a comma. So those dates will be disabled in the calendar. And now I can disable certain days of the week. Well, I'm also not open Saturdays and Sundays. I take the weekends off, so we'll just check those boxes. And then you can change your localization. There's a lot of different options in here. This will change, obviously, not only the language of the date time picker, but it'll also kind of change how the dates are arranged in the calendar as well based on those different options. So we'll go ahead and save this. And I'm going to go ahead and save. And we don't need this other page anymore, so I'm going to go ahead. And once this is done saving, I'm going to open this up outside of the Visual Builder so you can see it. So the calendar is disabled inside the Visual Builder just so things don't conflict and so you don't get too many pop-ups because it can kind of be a headache editing it. So, all right, let's take a look at our calendar here, our date picker. So you'll notice again, Saturdays and Sundays are checked off. Today is the 2nd, Wednesday the 2nd. And so I've got myself a rolling 2-day. The earliest date people can pick are 2 days from today, which is Friday, which means they can't pick today and they can't pick tomorrow on the picker because we set that in our picker. And we also set the latest date as June 1st. So you'll notice here, because here's May, this is June 1st, that they can't select anything after that. So we can't even go forward after that. And if I go back to April, the 1st and the 2nd are grayed out as well because we mentioned that in our settings. So you can get pretty flexible with the date and the time that you set and the limits that you set as well, depending on kind of what you need here. And just to kind of show you the localization, we're going to go ahead and I'll change this to Spanish. There it is, Spanish. And we'll go ahead and save it. And we'll refresh it here. And you'll see that we are now in Spanish. So this is all good. This looks great. The functionality is there. And I guess it kind of matches the theme, but here's where you can even take it a step further. So in version 2.0, I've made it so you can completely customize how this looks to match your theme. And actually, before we go into that, I'm going to show you the time picker as well, because I just realized I didn't do that. So under this pickup time here, we've got an input field. I'm going to enable it, and I'm going to set it to a time picker. And here's our enable time limits, yes. Do I want to set a minimum time? Yes. So your options for minimum are the minimum time hour, and this is in 12-hour or 24-hour format. So if I want to set it to be, 1, I want to set it to 13, 14 for 2 p.m. So we'll set this to 7, and here's your minimum time in minutes. And again, you can go up to 59, so I'll set it to, 7:30 as a minimum. And I'll set a maximum as well to, we'll do 6 p.m., so 18. And the minutes, we'll just make it right on the hour, 6 p.m. And here's our format, 12-hour, 24. So you've seen the 12, so I'll set it to 24. And you can change the increment as to with that little time picker. Oh, we didn't set it up on that one yet. Normally goes by 1 hour increments. I could set it to 2. the minute. I could set it to 15-minute increments if I want. Just in case you have use cases for your website where you may want people to select, I don't know, or have the option be a little bit different than just 5-hour increments. So once this saves, I'll go ahead and reload this page and show you that. So here's our time picker. 7:30 is the earliest we can go. I can't go past that, but you'll notice that it's in 15-minute increments now. And the timer's going in 2-hour increments. And here's our 24-hour format. So we're not on the 12-hour format anymore. So whatever makes the most sense for your business, or your website rather. So now I'll show you how to customize the color scheme and everything. So that's going to be, if you go under the design and layout, you'll notice that under your full width option, here's where we have options for the calendar stuff. So let's do, so that's kind of a darker blue there, so we'll set that. For the calendar background, for the previous month arrows, this is kind of an orange. I don't think this is the same orange as that, but just to illustrate my point. The year and the month at the top of the calendar, we'll just put that in white. Weekdays separate, the weekdays and the separators, we'll put that in white. But I think we had it at default, a little transparent, so we'll do that, that's fine. The date and the time color, we'll set that to white. Selection background, we'll set that to orange as well. And the text color we'll leave as white. And I'll show you what all this is here once we save the page and I reload it here. Alright, so let's go ahead and refresh this page. And this is on a per instance basis. So you'll notice now this matches our, and we're still in Spanish. But see, here's the other thing about that localization as well. You'll notice that now our weekends are on this side as opposed to Sunday being here and Saturday being here. That was handled by the localization and, of course, our language. But now our color picker is this color, to kind of match our theme, whatever it might be. But the time picker, you'll notice, is still white because, again, it's on a individual basis. So we could come over to the time picker and do the same if we wanted. But the reason I did it this way is just because that way you can have different time pickers, different date pickers in different languages. That was one of the things I got. People that had, multilingual websites needed pickers in different languages. And now you can do that with this format. So the last thing that I wanted to show you is, let me jump over to the dashboard here and the plugins. In the settings page. So in version 1.0, this is where you changed, the date format and the localization. These are now depreciated. I'm leaving them here so that way websites that were using 1.0 and that upgrade to 2.0, they'll still function. It will all still work. And actually, if I come over here to this bottom one and I go the old school way, so this drop-off day, the old way of doing this was to write date picker for the date picker and start today if you wanted, no dates before today. And if I save these changes and we reload this page, you'll notice that the picker itself still works. So I want anybody that's using version 1.0 to, I don't want their site to break. So that will still work. And when this loads, I'll just click on this. So you'll see that we still have the calendar. They can't choose today. So the old way still works for now. It's going to be depreciated. It's going to go away. So you don't need to do any of these. You don't need to tweak any of these. If you're using the format where you're using the actual visual builder, they will totally override these. So you don't have to worry about these. And then in future versions, this is going to go away. So I encourage anybody who has version 1.0 who's upgrading to upgrade and then redo their pickers using the Divi Builder method. Because eventually, again, these are going to be depreciated. They're going to go away and they're going to cease to function on the website. So that's pretty much all there is to it. Again, super flexible. If you run into any problems or issues or bugs, let me know about it because I want it to be the best plugin that it can be. If you have any other use cases where you say, hey, I've got a client or a website where my date picker needs to do whatever, shoot me a message and I'll see if it makes sense to implement it for kind of the greater good of everybody. And then we can go from there. So, all right. Hey, thanks again, guys. I really appreciate it, and happy editing.